After the deaths of Jack and Audrey Newton in the English Midlands, a local auction company was contacted to fulfill the terms of the siblings' will by appraising and selling their possessions. However, when the specialists arrived at the Newtons' farmhouse in 2015, it felt as though they had stepped into another reality. For almost 70 years, Jack and Audrey, brother and sister, had resided at Grange Farm, which is situated outside the village of Roxton-on-Dunsmore in Warwickshire, England. In the 1940s, they relocated to the charming farmhouse with their parents, where they assisted them in cultivating the 115 acres of land that belonged to the property and kept cattle and pigs. During World War II, the surrounding city of Coventry was nearly destroyed by German Luftwaffe bombers. Nevertheless, as we will see, the Newton family's farmhouse survived. The Newton family turned off a lot of the conveniences of contemporary living. Rather, they made the decision to lead a simpler life centered on their property, the animals, and their charming Queen Anne-style home. Thus, the Newtons' way of life seemed to be rather perfect in many respects. But when Jack decided to enroll in the military to fulfill his duty during World War II, that tranquility was broken. Audrey stayed in the family house while he was overseas serving in the Royal Air Force. The obedient daughter continued to assist her parents on the farm, but she also became interested in music and the arts. Audrey's curiosity with culture led her to travel outside of Roxton-on-Dunsmore and into the metropolis. She got to know the Belgrade Theatre in Coventry. Grange Farm consequently housed a number of actors throughout the years. The most well-known thespian to pass through its doors was Michael Crawford, an English singer and actor who rose to prominence on Broadway as the star of the Phantom of the Opera. Having served his nation and king throughout the war, Jack went back to Grange Farm. The elder Newtons died as the years went by, but the loving siblings carried on with their simple existence. Both of them never got married, and apart from turning down husbands and kids, it seemed like they turned down nearly every contemporary convenience, preferring the house just the way it was when they first moved in. Jack and Audrey kept working the land as they always did, even after selling the farm's livestock. Sadly, Audrey passed away in 2011 at the age of 80, and Jack passed away at the age of 90 in March of 2015. It was the first time Grange Farm had been empty since the 1940s. The Newtons had no near relatives who might have inherited the land. The details of Jack and Audrey's will are kept private, but in an attempt to reach a settlement with the beneficiaries, the executors were going to take a drastic step. This is where things got interesting. The executors of the estate decided to sell Grange Farm and hold an auction of its goods. Hawkins and Harrison, two nearby real estate brokers, intervened to arrange the sale of the land and everything on it. The experts might not have known what they were getting themselves into, though. In fact, the auction valuers from Hawkins and Harrison thought they had entered a time machine when they arrived at Grange Farm. Upon initial observation, it appeared as though the family had not made any changes to the house since their 70-year move-in. Everyday objects, decorations, furniture, and fittings all appeared to provide a fascinating window into 1940s family life. Moreover, a great deal of the Newtons' previous belongings were much older. There were antiques everywhere. You looked in the spacious 9-bedroom home. While some items were solely useful, others were ornamental. The Newtons had, in fact, left behind items they had used all the way up until the very end, such as an antique sewing machine, wrought iron bed frames, a typewriter, and a traditional larder in place of a contemporary refrigerator. Other things showed the brother and sister's interests and enthusiasm, a variety of antique instruments, albums, and sheet music, some dating back to the 1920s, were among the astounding items. The auction company also discovered vintage binoculars and film cameras. A wartime amputation kit was among the stranger items. The contents of Grange Farm astounded Patrick, who assisted in planning the auction for the Newtons' executors. The Coventry Telegraph newspaper published an interview with him in 2015. "The house contents have not been touched since their late parents' time," he said. Patrick, who was captivated, added, "It's a time warp of interesting items, curiosities, and even more memorabilia." Still, he thought of the previous owners of Grange Farm. The Newtons had an interesting life even though they never married, he said. Actually, a bygone period is coming to an end. Furthermore, Shane Morris, the Newtons' neighbor, talked to the Daily Mail, a UK tabloid, when one of its reporters visited Roxton on Dunsmore to confirm the story. The siblings, according to Morris, belonged to the make-do and mend generation. Jack and Audrey had endured the hardships of World War II, grown up during the Depression, and lived through the post-war years of austerity. Clearly, all of this had affected them. It's an elderly person's home, yet they never threw anything out, Morris said. They were very conscientious people and kept everything, even before recycling came in, he continued. Jack was a master of all trades who served in the RAF during the war. He accomplished a great deal. As they grew older, they sold their pigs and cattle but continued to cultivate the land. Hawkins and Harrison had an open house before the Grange farm goods were put up for auction. This made it possible for the general public to examine the auction pieces in advance and learn more about the lifestyle of the Newtons. An official from the company said that flinging the doors open was really well liked. It seems that amazed tourists came from all around to gaze in astonishment at the museum-like exhibits. In June 2015, the Newtons' belongings were put up for auction at Grange Farm, and hundreds of people attended the event because of the historical and antique appeal and worth of some of the objects. Undoubtedly, a lot of people there were hoping to get their hands on a piece of history. Morris, a resident of Roxton on Dunsmore, was among those hoping to obtain a memento to cherish the Newtons. They were very private people, but they were very nice and caring to their friends, he told the Daily Mail in his explanation. They remained loyal to you. My wife and I would bid on a few things to preserve as keepsakes because they were like parents to us. At the conclusion of the auction, every one of the 500 available lots was purchased. One of the items sold for an astounding $840 or £600 was a gold pocket watch. After the event, Sean Barron of Hawkins and Harrison told the Coventry Telegraph, "It was a really good day with a great crowd." Grange Farm was put up for sale for the equivalent of nearly $900,000 after the event to sell the Newtons' lifetime belongings was held there. Despite the fact that Jack and Audrey are no longer with us and left no descendants behind, their influence continues to be felt by several auction purchasers. The bidders who won such intriguing artifacts must have silently thanked the Newtons for their remarkable historical preservation. What do you think of this story? Let us know in the comments section. I hope you like this story. Please give it a thumbs up and share it with your loved ones. Also subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss the update from our channel. Thank you.